Hello everyone, and today we're going to be talking about one of those cards that has an unexplained amount of popularity, the ABC Dragon Buster. Now this basically light machine union type deck is objectively mediocre. It's not broken or anything like that, but I've been working on a way to at least make it in some fashion competitive. This is as close as I've gotten at the minute. Not going to pretend it's fantastic, but it does function. So if you are a fan of the ABC Dragon Buster, then this is a definitely very viable way of playing it. So what is the idea behind the deck? Of course, it's fusion summoning out your ABC Dragon Buster, which quick play effect is two quick play effects. You can discard a card to banish a card in the field, which is really strong. And its second effect, you contribute it to summon back 3 of your banished light machine union monsters. So pretty powerful. You know that they're quick effect banish basically on either player's turn. Just discard a card, banish a card, and it's, it can be monster, back row, whatever you want, and then it can float back into all of its fusion pieces. And you fusion summon this card simply by having your A Assault Core, B Buster Drake, and C Crush Wyvern on your field or in your graveyard, and just banishing them to special summon out your ABC Dragon Buster. So honestly, it's not that difficult to summon. You can usually set it up pretty consistently. The deck is also built in a fashion that allows you to summon not only your ABC Dragon Buster, but also your Saber Dragon Infinity, both on your first turn. So it sets up at least a couple of interruptions. You have a couple of fallback options as well, such as Babushka, which is fairly easy to summon since you're spamming level 4s left, right, and center. You've got a couple of link climbing options, things like that. The deck in general has an awful lot going on, so it is an awful lot of fun. You can customize it an awful lot. The only core cards realistically are the ABC pieces themselves and possibly the Galaxy engine. The rest of it you can basically do whatever you want. The full deck profile for this version is going to be at the end, and we're going to talk about some of the plays and some of the construction behind how it works and sort of what maybe you can tech in and out. So if you like what you're seeing and you want to see more, feel free to subscribe and leave your suggestions down below. There is a few different ways you can play this deck, so if you think you've got a better way, if there's some sort of secret tech or something that I'm missing and you think you have the secret sauce, leave it down below and I'll test it out. This version of it, again, yes, can compete in ranked. It's not going to get you to Diamond 1, but it will give you a decent fighting chance in ranked. At least you will be winning games, and in casual play, it's going to be very, very powerful as well. So bear that in mind. It's not going to be a tier 1 deck, but it's definitely at least viable. Anyway, we've got a few games lined up. The last one in particular was a real grind fest, so it was. So you're gonna see a lot of the interactions and sort of what makes it good and bad. So without further ado, let's get into game number 1. Alrighty, getting into game 1, and we are going second. Now we have a pretty decent hand here actually with the B Buster Drake. That's your best of the 3 union monsters. It's definitely the one you want to be seeing in your hand. We're going up against Tri-Brigades and we have no hand traps. So under normal circumstances, this is quite a rough way of playing here. Now I think our deck is, I was going to say our opponent's playing a very curious deck because they actually turn around and completely do a 180 here, going into Albion the Branded Dragon. Now they're going to banish the Albion and the Albaz from the graveyard to go into Mirror Jade the Ice Blade Dragon. So they're playing a mix between Tri-Brigades as well as Fallen of Albaz. If I were to think about the potential logic behind this deck, it's going to be that the Tri-Brigades offer your deck more versatility and follow-up, while making your Mercurier much more consistent to be in your hand as an additional monster to get. So they're able to use Fractal to send Kit sends Nerval, Nerval then searches for the Mercurier and not the Karas. So that's where the idea I think behind their deck is coming from. I don't think it's a particularly good idea, but I think it is definitely very interesting, and on this occasion worked out. We go to Forbidden Droplet, our opponent's monster here. They decide they're going to send a monster to the graveyard to activate its effect now. I'm assuming just so they have that per grand in graveyard for cost later. Why they would do it right there and then, I don't know, but such is life. We're going to go Gold Gadget. Gold Gadget on summon is going to special summon a level 4 machine from the hand, so we grab our B Buster Drake. Link summon, which is going to trigger our B Buster Drake to add the A Assault Core to our hand. We discard the A Assault Core to summon the Galaxy Soldier out to the field. Galaxy Soldier activates to search for another Galaxy Soldier, but that gets negated. So no additional search for us, which is unfortunate. That does cost us a good little bit. Unauthorized reactivation is going to equip on the Union Driver. So that's how this card works. Unauthorized reactivation will grab a Union monster from your deck and equip it onto a card you control. but you can't summon the monster that it equips. So usually you want to equip Union Driver, because Union Driver can banish itself to replace itself with any of your other Union monsters, which can then be summoned, which will come up. Union Carrier then is going to equip on Photon Orbital from the deck, which can then detach itself to grab our remaining Galaxy Soldier that we need. Union Driver then banishes itself to replace itself with the Sea Crush Wyvern. 1, 2, 3, there's your A, B, and your C. There's your Dragon Buster. So we're going to go into battle phase here. We're going to swing in for 3k, swing in for 1000 here off the Union Carrier, and we're going to pass it back to our opponent. Brigand, of course, activating to add the Karas to the hand. Very interesting deck from our opponent here. It definitely has some merit to it, which I wasn't expecting. Opponent's going to go rescue Cat. We're going to banish that Cat before it even gets started. Karas, then discard one to summon itself back to the field. There goes the Kit, triggering Nerval. Nerval then searching the deck for the Fractal. Now, the Karas then is going to, I believe, banish 2. Yes, banish 2 to go into the Baron Blossom. Baron Blossom summons out Nerval from the hand. Nerval banish 4 to summon out Shureg, the Ominous Omen. Now, at this point, Shureg's going to activate its effect, so we're going to chain our Dragon Buster, jumping off the field to resurrect all 3 of our Light Union monsters. So we're going to go A, B, and C all into defense mode, which gives us then the ability to resummon it next turn. Now, the Sea Crush Wyvern does get banished by our opponent Shureg, such as life. What are you going to do about it? Then we're going to link summon up into the Access Code Talker, which is very, very dangerous, but our opponent only has Earth monsters, Earth Link monsters in their graveyard, which means they don't get a ton of poppage here off of the effect. They reduce all our attack points down, which sucks, but isn't the end of the world. Gonna pop the B-Buster Drake, which will activate its effect to search our deck for another B-Buster Drake. Then he's going to swing in, take out the Union Carrier, and hit us for 49 over our own monster. Then take out the Assault Core, which is going to add back to our hand the B-Buster Drake from the graveyard. Again, it's just the best of the Union monsters, to be honest. Maybe we could have added back a different one, just for some variety. We top deck into the Sea Crush Wyvern anyway, so that's not the greatest for us. We're going to normal summon the Sea Crush Wyvern to go into the Cerberus. Cerberus, discard 1, pop the Access Code Talker. It's going to trigger the Crush Wyvern to summon out the Buster Drake to the field, which is then, of course, going to allow us to trigger it. So we link summon using these 2 into our Unicorn. We don't get to use Unicorn's effect, but we do get to put the Buster Drake into the graveyard to grab an Assault Core. Banish 3 to summon our second ABC Dragon Buster from the deck. ABC Dragon Buster, banish 1 to discard 1 to banish the Shureg. Swing for 22, swing for 3k. And that is game. So, was it against the most optimal of decks from our opponent there? No, of course not. But again, in a game where you're getting rid of a Mirror Jade, you're getting rid of Access Code Talker, you're getting rid of Shureg, you know you're doing something right. That even if our opponent's deck wasn't great, their plays in this duel were fantastic. And I think their deck merits some sort of investigation. There may be something we look into soon. I'm getting a little bit tired of seeing branded, to be honest, so I don't know if I will, but it is definitely something worth investigating. If you guys are curious, by all means, go for it. But yes, that is the versatility of the Dragon Buster. It's just that very, very simple, straightforward, discard 1, banish, the ability to jump and float your monsters, constantly searching and generating card advantage. The deck does struggle for card advantage. That's its biggest problem, like by far. So any opportunity you get to generate additional card advantage is very, very important. Take it while you can. But yeah, that settles us for game number 1. Let's get into game 2. Already game 2, and we're going first this time. Our hand is pretty interesting. B-Buster Drake here is coming out, and we're going to equip onto Union Driver from our deck. Union Driver then banishing itself to add the Sea Crush Wyvern, which will summon itself to the field. Link summon into the Union Carrier. That's typically what you want to be doing here. B-Buster Drake will search for another Sea Crush Wyvern. Union Carrier will equip Photon Orbital onto itself from the deck, which will grab our Galaxy Soldier. Galaxy Soldier discard a light monster to summon itself. On summon, it will search for another Galaxy Soldier, which then can discard a light monster to summon itself out of the field. So there we have it. There's the Saber Dragon Nova. Now we can rank our Nova up into Infinity, which is an Omni Negate plus a suck up of our opponent's monster. We're going to banish 3 from the graveyard, go into the ABC Dragon Buster, and move to our end phase. Now this gets a little bit ridiculous. This is your ideal turn 1 board. It's not that difficult to establish, as you saw. Generally speaking, if you can summon out 2 monsters, as well as trying to get your Beat Buster Drake onto the field in particular, that usually sets your combo up in very good stead. So this is pretty solid. We've got 3 big interruptions. Our opponent's going to go Numeron Wall, discarding it to grab a Numeron Network here from the deck. They just hard draw the Numeron Calling, so they go to activate it right off the bat. We're going to negate that Numeron Calling here. We don't need them going for that again. So that is negated. They're going to go Numeron Network on activation. We're going to chain our ABC Dragon Buster, discard 1, banish. That is 2 Numeron Callings negated, done, finished. Cannot use it, except he's got another Numeron Network in his hand, and he's got the 3rd Numeron Calling. So he can just activate it. There's no restrictions. Like, that's insane. Again, we did everything we possibly could have. Having the Union Carrier face up on our field ended up being a bit of a problem. He's going to take out our Infinity, and he's going to have enough attack points to beat over our Union Carrier. Again, it's one of those situations where, I mean, we tribute our ABC Dragon Buster here just for, you know, a wee giggle. He swings in here, 7,000 damage, bang. What are you going to do about it? I did want to show off. I appreciate that was short, not the greatest showing of the deck. One, I wanted to show off how insanely lucky our opponent was getting access to all 3 of the Numeron Callings in their deck on their first turn. That was pretty insane. And secondly, after your main combo, please use your Infinity to suck up the Union Carrier. Please use it. It costs you games more often than you would think. Please suck up the Union Carrier with the Infinity, and you will prevent things like this happening. So just bear that in mind, throwing that out there for educational purposes. That was the perfect sort of turn 1. That's what you want to be doing for your first turn. So it's good to show that off. I wanted to show off our opponent's luck there, and I wanted to show the dangers of leaving the Union Carrier face up on your field. Very, very exploitable. But again, let's get into this last game, because this last one's a bit of a doozy, so it is. So let's dive on in. Alrighty, now this one is going to take a while. Main phase, our opponent just sets 2 and pass here, but we weren't actually too concerned about this. We thought this was going to be a relatively easy win. We normal summon our gold gadget, go to use its effect, and we get hit with a Max C there. So we're going to go for Called by the Grave. We don't really need our opponent drawing that many more cards, so we're going to stop with that Max C. But we're going to get hit with the Imperm here, unfortunately. That does stop us a little bit on our tracks for the gold gadget play. We were hoping to summon out the Assault Core or the Silver Gadget just to get Link summoning into something like our Union Carrier, but to be honest, we've already got that double Galaxy Soldier in hand, so we're not really feeling all that bad about it. We're going to discard the Assault Core, summon a Galaxy Soldier. We're going to search our deck for the 3rd Galaxy Soldier, and then we're going to discard it to summon our other one. So there we go, 2 Galaxy Soldiers on the field. We're going to go into the Saber Dragon Nova, and that's when our opponent's going to hit us with Rivalry of Warlords, as well as the Multi-Faker. Multi-Faker is going to summon Silquitus. Silquitus is going to bounce the Nova, which is very unfortunate. We're going to take this out though, and we're going to pass it to our opponent. Not very much else we can do. The gadgets do have a pretty interesting effect, so both of them are basically identical. Each of them will summon a level 4 monster from your hand whenever they're summoned. When they're destroyed, they will special summon a level 4 gadget monster from your deck. So gold will summon silver, silver will summon gold. Pretty straightforward. Our opponent just sets 1 and passes back to us. They do have the Multi-Faker in hand, and we know that, but they have a Silquitus in the graveyard, so they're not going to have that much power. We go for the Silver Gadget play here for the similar purposes, but we get negated yet again by yet another Imperm, which is definitely unfortunate, and that does of course trigger the Multi-Faker to summon itself as well as a Meluseek from the deck. We're going to use these 2 to go into the Union Carrier. Union Carrier equips onto itself the Union Driver from the deck, which will banish itself for the Beat Buster Drake. We probably shouldn't have gone Union Driver, but it's fine. We're going to go Battle Phase, take out the Meluseek. We're going to take out the Multi-Faker while we still have the multiple attacks here, which is grand. We're yet to put the Sea Crush Wyvern into our graveyard. Unfortunately, we didn't have a way of getting it out there. We might have did so if we played our Union Carrier a little bit differently, but we didn't, so here we are. So they've got the... Sorry, I distracted myself. So the Marionetter basically is one of the sort of key cards in this deck where they sort of like cycle in and out of their other cards. Meluseek now has the ability to attack us directly. After dealing battle damage, it will send our Union Carrier to the graveyard, and then they'll simply activate their Spellbook of Knowledge, sending Meluseek to the grave, drawing 2, as well as searching their deck for a Multi-Faker. set 2 and pass back to us. So our opponent is generating a lot of card advantage, and they're playing a very interesting deck. Now, Call by the Grave is going to be useful because the majority of their good cards are currently sitting in their graveyard, which gives us a variety of negates we can utilize. So we're going to banish 3 from the graveyard after going into our Platinum Gadget to summon out our ABC Dragon Buster. That's when they're going to go for the Altergeist manifestation. That's a perfect opportunity for us to go for our Call by the Grave. So that's just what we're going to do, taking out one of the big threats in their deck, the Multi-Faker. Now, the Multi-Faker, of course, a number of months ago, I guess, at this stage, was unlimited to 2. So now you can have 2 of it. The other one is in his hand, but he also can't use its effect for the next 2 turns. So our opponent cannot stop that 4600 damage coming straight for their face. Grand. Okay, so we're starting to take control of this a little bit. We're going to preemptively banish that new face down card because he can't activate it. We don't need him doing anything funky. We're going to tribute our ABC Dragon Buster, special summon all of our parts back here, just so we can generate a bit of card advantage, resummon the other one from our extra deck, and have a little bit more discard fodder. We're going to link here into the Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon. We're going into the Auroradon for a good reason. We're activating its effect. We're going to grab 3 tokens, and then we're going to use the tokens here to basically start popping some of his back row. That's very, very important here. The Auroradon's good for that reason. We're not doing synchro shenanigans. We're not summoning any like Theo Lion or anything like that. We're just using it for Tribute 1, Pop 1, as well as generally just generating advantage and being a defensive card as well. It brings a little bit more utility to the deck, and there's not a lot of great Link 3s for machines, I'll be perfectly honest. It is what it is. They're going to negate our Auroradon from activating by returning their monster to the graveyard there with their Protocol. Protocol destroys the Auroradon. Platinum Gadget then will summon out the A Assault Core from the deck, sorry, from our hand. Then the Dragon Buster comes out yet again. The A Assault Core equips itself onto our Dragon Buster, and then the Sea Crush Wyvern is going to do the same thing. A Assault Core and Sea Crush Wyvern basically protects it from monster effects and protects it from traps. So that's the effect. So A Assault Core protects from monsters, B Buster Drake protects from spells, Sea Crush Wyvern protects from traps. Just, you can tell by the color of the monster. Purple for traps, green for spells, orange for monsters. Pretty simple. We're going to banish that Silquitus here. They're going to return the Platinum Gadget to our extra deck just so they get something out of it. Their Protocol then goes back to their hand, but the Silquitus is now banished. That's one less card for us to worry about. And we're going to swing directly for another 3,000 points of damage. We are forced, because of the evenly matched, to banish our remaining ABC Dragon Buster. That is a supremely rough for us. That really does heavily limit what we can do about this. We top deck into the Max C, which isn't great for us. Going to link into the Platinum Gadget, which is not big enough to get over the Ash Blossom's 1800 defense. Again, placing us in a very precarious situation. All of our boss monsters are basically inaccessible. At this stage in the duel, we're sort of wondering if or when we can even try to come back in this game. But we are going to, at the very least, give it the best shot we possibly can. Our opponent's got another Eldergeist Mileuseek there, but they're simply going to set a card face down and pass it back to us. Now, draw phase, we draw into the Gold Gadget. We normal summon it. We're just going to try and swing into the face down. It is the Mileuseek, actually, which is fine. The Mileuseek then goes to the graveyard and searches their deck for the Conqueror. So pass it back to them. Again, there's not a ton we can do about this realistically. We're going to speed this up a little bit. They're going to tribute to set 1 pass. That's the, of course, the monster they just searched for. Draw into Imperm, which doesn't do a ton for us. We're going to set it to hopefully abuse that rivalry later on. Spoofing and Protocol. So this is a pretty interesting combo when it comes to the Altergeist. Protocol will basically send another face-up Altergeist card to the graveyard to negate a card, and Spoofing then is going to shuffle Altergeist cards from your hand or field back into the deck to search for a new one. So now they've got methods of negating and searching for cards. They're going to shuffle back the the Protocol, search their deck for the Marionetter, which gives them a pretty decent beater. They're Spoofing, they're going to shuffle back Mileuseek, search for the Pukari. So this is where they're going to start getting out of hand. They're going to summon out their Hextia. So now they're getting on the offense against us here. They've played their traps defensively. Now they're getting aggressive, playing the Protocol from the deck. Marionetter sending itself to the grave to summon Mileuseek, which will attack us directly and get rid of our Gold Gadget, preventing its floating effect. Platinum Gadget gets its floating effect, though, summoning the Silver Gadget from the deck. Then out comes the Prime Banshee. Hextia will search his deck for another, I'm not going to try and pronounce that, Marionetter then as well to the hand, and then set 1. So a lot going on there. We are going to try speeding it up a little bit. Unauthorized reactivation, grabbing a B-Buster Drake here from the deck. We're going to swing into the Prime Banshee, which destroys the Buster Drake, which sends it to the graveyard, triggering its effect, but it gets negated at the cost of the Prime Banshee. So you know what? Wasn't even necessarily a terrible thing for us. We just need to hold on to this Imperm to hopefully get around something that might work. We go to Max C, potentially trying to stop this, but then our opponent reacts by getting rid of it with the spoofing, so we don't actually get to draw anything off of that Max C, unfortunately. Marionetter yet again sending itself to the grave to summon the Silquitus, this time returning our face down card back to our hand. That is a huge problem, because now it's not going to remain set long enough for it to be useful. Our opponent did leave themselves wide open for lethal, but I mean, come on, we knew that this wasn't going to work. We knew for a fact he was just going to bounce us back with the Silquitus. We're going to normal summon our Silver Gadget again, set 2, and pass back to our opponent. Our opponent's going to resummon the Hextia, which is a spell or trap card negate so long as it contributes something. So this is rough, so it is. We're going to negate the Meluseek. We're going to try and negate the Hextia as well so that they're forced to crash, but Silquitus is going to prevent that from happening. We're going to attack directly a bunch of times here, and then link summon yet again into another Hextia, which basically gives him another negate, essentially. So again, very, very rough game. We try to go in for lethal once more. There's not very much else we can do about this. At this stage, we go for the unauthorized reactivation. This could have equipped on one of our Union monsters from the deck to hopefully protect us from the Silquitus effect. But again, they've got that Hextia for the negate, so that does prevent us from using unauthorized reactivation. We just have to call it a game. That is pretty much it. So it was a fantastic game, back and forth, absolutely. Altergeist are just a little bit too strong for this deck, I'll be honest. There are a lot of things in the metagame that are just a little bit too strong for it. This is not an uberly competitive deck. It's not like ridiculously powerful. It's just a viable way of building a mediocre deck, if that makes sense. But yes, fun game, absolutely back and forth. For people who wanted to see a little bit more about Altergeist, I haven't built the deck just yet myself. I'm not a big fan of trap-based deck, apart from the odd one. I suppose that's rich, considering I put up an Unchained video yesterday. But most trap-based decks I'm not the biggest fan of. But, you know, on occasion, if that's what you're into, that's what our opponent was playing. That's a bit of insight into how it plays. But before I go off on a tangent, let's get into the deck profile. Alrighty, now getting into the deck profile, first of all, getting rid of the extra cards. We got that double Maxi, double Ash Blossom, we got the double Call by the Grave, the Crossout Designator, double Forbidden Droplet. Forbidden Droplet is good because you can send your Union monsters from your field to the graveyard to utilize their effects. So Forbidden Droplet's good. Then we got that triple Imperm. So there are 12 slots in your deck. You can do whatever you want with. Go nuts, play whatever you like. These slots here we're going to talk about first. You can also mess around with. These guys are not core to the deck. They're core to how this version of it functions, but they're not necessarily core to ABC in general. Basically, Silver Gadget and Gold Gadget both do the exact same thing. Whenever they're summoned, you will summon another level 4 machine monster from your hand, which is any of your other machines really. Apart from the Galaxy Soldier and Union Driver, everything else is level 4 machine. So they summon out another monster from your hand, and if they're destroyed by battle or card effect, they will summon the other gadget from the deck. So they float basically into each other, which is kind of cool. They're mainly here so that you can utilize the effects of your monsters and link summon. So you'll normal summon one of your gadgets, summon one of these guys out of the field, ideally your Buster Drake, link into your Union Carrier. Your Union Carrier then sets up your Galaxy Soldier play. And then ideally you can just get the plays moving with the B Buster Drake as well for the ABC side of it. So they are very good. They make the Saber Dragon Infinity a good bit more consistent. They add a little bit more sort of power to it. They make your Babushka more common, more consistent as well. So no, a lot of benefits to these cards. I think these guys are pretty good. I think they definitely deserve a slot on the deck. But if you don't like them, you don't have to play them. It's up to you. But I'm a big fan. I think they belong. Getting into the actual ABC cards. So Assault Core. All of them are Union monsters, of course. And as Union monsters, they can equip onto a monster you control. Assault Core, while equipped, means the equipped monster is unaffected by monster effects. B Buster Drake makes the equipped monster unaffected by spells. and Sea Crush Wyvern makes it unaffected by trap cards. So they basically, all three together, makes your monster pretty much immune to card effects, which is pretty nuts. There are other effects, of course, activate whenever they're sent from the field to the graveyard. A, Assault Core will add a Union monster from your graveyard back to your hand. B, Buster Drake, which is the best of them by far, will search your deck for a Union monster. And C, Crush Wyvern will allow you to special summon a Union monster from your hand. So C, Crush Wyvern is typically the weakest of the three. Then Assault Core is in the middle. B, Buster Drake is way at the top. This card is amazing. You really want to be abusing this search effect as much as you possibly can. And then what you want to be doing is these three are the fusion materials needed for your boss monster, the ABC Dragon Buster, and all they need to do is be on your field or in your graveyard. So you want to just play these cards, discard them, mill them, search and summon them, whatever you need to do to get them onto the field or in your graveyard. That's what you do to summon out your big boss. So it's relatively straightforward, but yeah, they're your core components. Next, you have your little Galaxy Eyes package. So Photon Orbital can be equipped through the effective Photon Carrier. It can then send itself to the graveyard to search your deck for a Galaxy Soldier. Galaxy Soldier, discard a light monster to special summon itself to the field in defense, and on summon, it will search your deck for another Galaxy Soldier, which can then discard a light monster to special summon itself to the field. So that gives you your 2 light level 5 machines, which allows you to exceed summon into Cyber Dragon Nova. Cyber Dragon Nova can then exceed summon into Cyber Dragon Infinity, which is your Omni Negate. So this little package here, Photon Orbital, means that the package is essentially searchable through your Union Carrier, but the Galaxy Soldiers are what actually makes it happen. As long as you have one of these guys in your hand, typically you'll be able to go into Infinity no problems. And the last of our monsters, the Union Driver. Basically, so long as this is equipped onto one of your monsters, which you'll do either through unauthorized reactivation or Union Carrier, you can banish it to basically equip onto your monster another Union monster from the deck. Pretty straightforward. There's no restrictions placed onto the monster he equips. It can be unequipped and summoned. It can do whatever it wants, basically, unlike some of the other cards. So Union Driver is key for the versatility of your deck. Getting in the spells, Foolish Burial, of course, you want your ABC pieces in the graveyard. This puts them there. Got Terraforming to search your deck for Union Hanger. Union Hanger is sort of, it's like the god card of the deck, to be honest. This card is nuts. So whenever it's activated, you're going to search your deck for a Light Machine Union monster. You're going to search for Buster Drake. Let's be real. Unless you have a specific reason not to search Buster Drake, you're going to be searching for the Buster Drake. Then, if you were to, if I could speak with my voice cracking, then once per turn, whenever a Light Machine Union monster is summoned, you can equip onto it another Light Machine Union monster from the deck. So basically, this allows this is essentially like a 1-card combo because it searches for your Buster Drake, right? Your Buster Drake on summon will equip onto itself either the C or the A from the deck, and then when the Buster Drake is sent to the graveyard, it will then search whichever the remaining piece is. So if you equipped A, then you're going to search C, and now you've got all of the pieces lined up and ready to go. So this Union Hanger, really strong, really nuts, very powerful card. You want to see it as often as you can. Might even be worth playing more ways of drawing it, but we've only got the 4 at the minute. And last card for the main deck, Unauthorized Reactivation. You basically just equip a Union monster from your deck onto a legitimate target on your field. Very easy way to search out a missing ABC piece or search out a Union Driver, which can then go into any of your ABC pieces. So a very key card for consistency, definitely a 3 of 100% of the time. You could argue bringing it down to 2. But the utility of this card as well goes beyond just searching for one of your extra cards. It also allows you to better take advantage of the actual Union effects of your ABC pieces. So if your monster's about to get blown up by a lightning storm, well, Unauthorized Reactivation, equip on the Buster Drake, now you're immune. If you're about to get popped by a monster, your opponent some DPE, something like that, well, now you can equip on a Assault Core and your monster's unaffected. So it basically acts as a quick play immunity effect as well, which is pretty interesting. I think that adds a lot more depth to the usage of this card, so I am a massive fan of it. I would 100% play it at 3. I think you would be a little bit silly to play it at less than that. Moving into the extra deck, again, main deck, self-explanatory for the most part. Again, it just sort of makes sense. Last remaining 12 cards, do whatever you want. ABC Dragon Buster, 2 effects, both of which are quick effects. Number 1, discard a card to banish a card on the field. That is very powerful. Just target a card and banish it whenever you want on either player's turn as a quick effect. Fantastic. Second effect, it can tribute itself to summon back your light machine union monsters that are banished. So you can revive your ABC pieces during your opponent's turn by tributing your Dragon Buster, which gives it a really cool floating effect, because then on the following turn, you can simply banish these same 3 pieces to go into your second Dragon Buster. So it adds a lot of versatility to it. It means that it can protect itself by jumping off the field. So very, very, very cool in that regard. You might even want to play something like Avarice or whatever to recycle these back to continue abusing that floating effect, but let's not make our deck bad. Babushka, to take advantage of level 4 spam. Pretty much as simple as that. Takes advantage of the gadgets. The Nova and Infinity play we sort of talked about off of the Galaxy play. Infinity is an Omni Negate, detach a material, negate anything, plus once per turn as an ignition effect, target a face-up attack position monster in the field, suck it up, take it and equip it onto yourself as material. Really, really powerful card. Definitely one of my favorites. That 100% is a big part of as to why this deck is even viable. So definitely playing that. In terms of the Link monsters, Cerberus and Phoenix are just filler. Basically just pop a special summon monster, pop some back row. Platinum Gadget, Platinum Gadget was the 15th card. You know what I mean? Like, he's a UR. If you don't have him, you might not want to craft him if you're tight for credits. He's not too important, but at the same time, he's still very, very strong. So primarily speaking, he's here because he can be used to just tribute 2 of your machines, which means you can trigger the graveyard effects of your ABC pieces. Secondary to that, his ability to special summon a level 4 machine from the hand is also kind of really useful, because sometimes that allows you to go into the likes of your Babushka. It allows you to go into additional link plays like your Union Carrier. So definitely it got a lot of depth to it. It's got a lot of play behind it. So if you have the spare credits, or if you already have the card, definitely play it. If you don't already have the credits, then maybe don't worry about it. And the rest is pretty much filler, except for Union Carrier. Sorry, Union Carrier is pretty important, because this will equip onto one of your monsters on the field a monster from your deck that has the same type or attribute. So that's going to be primarily either your Photon Orbital to search for your Galaxy package, or your Union Driver to search for anything else. Pretty straightforward stuff. Then you've got the IP Masquerena as filler. Barricade Borg Blocker, again filler, just machine type link 2. Nightmare Unicorn filler as a link 3, but spin 1 back. Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon. We're not abusing the Mecha Phantom Beast like O-Lion or anything like that. You can if you really want to. It's just the deck doesn't consistently enough put up 3 monsters, if that makes sense. And you will more often brick on the O-Lion or on the Cultwing than you will resolve the actual combo itself, which means that it's not really worth considering. However, being a Link 3 monster puts it in a unique position where it's among the best Link 3 machine monsters, and being able to tribute a monster in your field and put a bunch of tokens on there to be tributed to pop an opponent's card still gives it a position where it can get rid of some of your opponent's back row, it can get rid of problematic monsters. So it's still definitely a card worth including. You can start playing some Synchro, Mecha Phantom Beast, O-Lion shenanigans if you really want to, but I don't want to dilute the deck. This deck isn't here to be like uber top tier competitive, it's here to be fun. So I want it to keep that fun factor. I want this to be its own deck. I don't want it to be just another way of abusing Auroradon. Then of course we have our 2 generic Link 4s, Crusadia Knight Avramax and our Access Code Talker. This Avramax can be an Apollosa, it can be a Boral Sword Dragon, it can be, I don't know, it can be whatever you want really. Most of the extra deck is filler. If you think of better options, let me know down below. I couldn't really think of anything more important to put in there. But yeah, that is the deck. It's really straightforward. Again, not super competitive. It is competitive enough to win games in Diamond. It will not carry you to Diamond 1, but you will have an awful lot of fun playing this deck in Diamond. You will win games, you will enjoy yourself, and in a casual setting or in a setting with friends, this deck is going to surprise people with how powerful it is, with how much follow-up it has. So yes, if you enjoyed the gameplay, if you like what you're seeing, if you like the in-depth sort of deck breakdown, feel free to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and it does help me out an awful lot, so I would appreciate it. And you can leave any comments down below for anything you do want to see in the future. And lastly, if you enjoyed watching, why not like the video? Again, it's free, doesn't cost you anything, and it lets me know that you guys like what you're seeing. So that is pretty much it. I have nothing else to say on the deck, so I guess I'll catch you all in the next one.